Evelyn Gunther is poring over more than 40 years of Zonta memories. As historian for District 9, she is the keeper of the reports, the newsletters, the photos, and the facts that trace our history from its earliest days.
I joined Zonta in 1970. It was in March of that year that I actually became a member of it, and it was the society editor of the local newspaper that wanted to be my sponsor. And I noticed that everybody who was there, they were women of great prominence in Lancaster. So I was very excited to be able to be a member.
A lot has changed since 1970. But imagine what Zonta was like when the first 4 clubs in District 9 were chartered in the 1920s: Honolulu, Los Angeles, Glendale, and Pasadena. They were joined by 12 more clubs in the 1930s and another 11 clubs in the 1940s.
When I was just a little girl.
But District 9's greatest period of growth was the 1950s. In the Eisenhower years, 18 clubs were chartered in places like Santa Rosa, Santa Ana, San Diego, and San Jose. By the 1958 conference in Pasadena, there were 43 clubs with 1,200 members, 419 Zontians registered.
Zonta was very successful after World War II, in my estimation, because there were not those kinds of opportunities. Women had moved into the workforce out of necessity, and they enjoyed having their own money, and they enjoyed being able to do things with their money, and Zonta gave them an opportunity to not only help themselves, but to help other people.
The district swelled by 8 more clubs in the 1960s, and by 1972 there were 59 clubs with 1,700 members.
Well, there was a club in Ventura, and there was a club in Santa Barbara. There was a club in San Fernando.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore.
But as the women's movement took hold and the status of women began to improve in the United States, membership began to decline.
And I became very concerned because while I was area director, our membership was reaching the 2,000 mark in the district. And I believe that we had between 50 and 60 clubs. And I was sure that by the time that Josie became governor, that together in working we could get that up to the 2,000. Well, of course we never reached the 2,000. We began seeing a decline, so it was a challenge.
And then a change early Zontians might have found unimaginable.
It was in the 80s when a woman took Rotary in the San Gabriel Valley of California, took a Rotary Club to court because she wanted to join Rotary, and she was denied because it was a male organization under IRS ruling. Rotary lost. Zonta International was not willing to spend the money to go to court to fight it. So we changed our international bylaws to say men at club option may be invited to join. The one that I remember the most is Lou Rubenstein, who was a member of the Santa Barbara Zonta Club, and so was his wife. But he was very involved with Zonta. He wholeheartedly approved of improving the status of women. So he was my Status of Women chairman on my board when I was governor.
District 9 Zontians have always been pioneers and have had a lasting impact on Zonta International.
One of the greatest contributions that District 9 ever made was the concept of recognizing Amelia Earhart, who had been a Zontian in New York, and recognizing her life by giving scholarships rather than just a monument someplace. So scholarships in the amount of $500 were started, and it was a recommendation from the Zonta Club of Bakersfield, right here in our own District 9, that made the International Board consider it. And it was adopted after the convention after she was lost.
District 9 also pioneered the Z Club, the first one started by the Burbank Club at Burbank High School in 1948. These Z Clubbers served as pages at the 1982 International Convention in San Diego, one of 5 that have been held in District 9. The first was in July of 1935 at the Mission Inn in Riverside, then Pasadena hosted in 1948. The convention was held in San Francisco in 1964 and Hawaii in 2000. 4 District 9 governors have gone on to serve as international presidents.
Dr. Dozier from the original San Fernando Valley Club was the first international president. After Dr. Dozier, it was J. Maria Pierce from the Pasadena Club. And then after that was Josie Cook from the Los Angeles Club, and now Diane Curtis from the Santa Clarita. Josie first came on the scene at the International Convention in Washington, D.C. when we were arguing at that time. The delegates were arguing over a very small raise in dues. And Josie stood up at that convention and she said, "I see most of you at the bar spending more money on one drink than what this dues raise would be." And it was passed. It voted and it was passed. But she was exactly right.
For Evelyn Gunther, keeping Zonta's history alive is a passion with a purpose.
The history of Zonta in District 9 would be extremely important. If you don't know where you have been, how do you know where you go? I think that's a Judy Garland quote out of The Wizard of Oz. If you don't know where you're going, how do you know which path to take? And if we don't know where we have been, how do we know how we're going to make it better?
As Zonta approaches its 100th anniversary, District 9 Zontians can take pride in the vital role they've played in Zonta's growth and success. By making Zonta better, making women's lives and our communities better, we've improved our own lives.
There is something about a Zonta friendship that lasts a lifetime. And I know when I joined Zonta, to me it was like my marriage vows, until death do us part.